Greetings, YouTube. I work at a place that has a lot of different languages. At one time, I think I heard a number bandied about that we had 67 languages at my company. That's a lot of languages. I mean, it's not as many languages as there are, mind you, but in one building, that's a pretty large number of languages. I work with people who some speak 4 or even 5 languages. I find that fascinating. I'm an American. I only speak American. It's related to English. Um, but one of the questions I don't ask off the bat when I meet someone is, where are you from? There's a reason for that. Because that's a really loaded question. Because when people ask that, it can be an utterly innocuous statement. I live in New Hampshire. We have a lot of transplants. Especially, even within the United States, okay? It's like people come from all over the United States to live here. So it's not difficult to figure out that someone is maybe not from New Hampshire from their accent, even if they're you know they were born and raised in America. And I fully understand that your ethnicity has nothing to do with the fact whether you were born and raised in America. Lots of people don't understand that. I can remember once talking to someone and I got to know her, and I knew she was Native American, so I said, so what nation are you? Because I didn't know. I can't tell by looking at someone what nation they are. She said Crow, and I was going to say, what are you doing here? Because Crow is not a nation commonly found in New Hampshire. She just looked at me, she shook her head and smiled in this very sardonic manner and said, it's a long story. It was. But when people ask that question, they're really asking something else. They aren't asking about where you were born and raised. They're asking, why aren't you white? Why aren't you like me? Because it's quickly followed by, no, where are you really from? Because you can't get much more native than someone that's Crow. And yet, they're going to be asked that question as well. Because they're brown. And let's face it, all the people that look like me, our ancestors didn't come from here. All of us are invaders, to one degree or another. The only people that belonged on this continent originally were the first ones that showed up. Everybody else was not invited. And the first ones that showed up were Hispanic, they were Chinese, they were Africans. It wasn't just pure white immigration in the 17th century. I have to mention there were Europeans that did show up far earlier than that. Columbus was a latecomer. The Norse were here, the Chinese were here long before Columbus was ever born. And it's important to remember that Columbus was in fact a slaver and a killer and a murderer and a rapist. His people were not nice, and they cut people's limbs off when they didn't show up with gold in their hands. Yeah, don't forget that, folks. But an interesting line in this article, which I hadn't thought of, which is, in the eyes of some Asians in America are, Lee writes, perpetual foreigners at worst or probationary Americans at best. So there's a particular flavor of this question that seems to plague Asian people that live in America. Even people who identify strictly as American. They don't even, like, I identify as American. If you ask me what my family's ethnicity, I will tell you it's mostly German. But I say American because I'm American. And there are people who have been living here for generations. Their ancient ancestors were from another country, from somewhere in Asia, but they're American. And it even gets worse if you are a woman and that question gets asked of you. Because with that thing come a lot of the baggage with the term exotic. Animals are exotic, not humans. Humans are humans. And we shouldn't be treating other human beings as though they're exotic. And that is something that a lot of women get stuck with because they don't look like the white majority. So the statement, or the question, where are you from, has a lot of baggage behind it, and I don't recommend it be used as a conversation starter when you meet someone, regardless of their ethnicity, regardless of their gender. If you get to know someone and eventually it comes up in conversation, there's not a problem with that. All right, because I can tell you right now, I wasn't born in New Hampshire. I can tell you, I was born in Pennsylvania, because I was. Except for my sister, all of us were born in Pennsylvania. My whole family was. All of us are transplants to the state of New Hampshire. So the question being asked of me would be legitimate. Where are you from? And I could tell them, from PA, coal country. And I am. That's where my family's from, coal country. But you see, that question isn't going to have the same baggage it's going to have of someone that isn't white, that's Asian, that's a woman. That question is much different. Because no one's ever going to ask me, why aren't you white?